Hey there, everyone. Tim from AlphaWolfTrading.com coming at you with this week's Stocks to Watch. The full video of Stocks to Watch that is typically just for the pro members. Decided to share it. This is the second week in a row. Normally I do a breakdown on the blog of all the different sectors, and I'll tell you there's a couple of sectors that really have my attention this week. One is the IWM, the small caps, and the other one is IBB. Consumer discretionary and retail also look pretty interesting, but they may need a little bit of time to consolidate. I think with the trade war fears kicking up because of the failed NAFTA agreement with Canada, uh, we could see a strong dollar. We see a strong dollar or a strengthening dollar. We could see some pressure on the multinationals, the big cap names. Um, IYT was looking like maybe it might be pulling back a little bit, but really my focus, and you're going to see from my list of stocks to watch this week, is small caps and biotech. So one thing about biotech, I want to talk about this real quick, especially for new traders. It's easy to get sucked into trading biotech stocks because they have these, they can have some pretty incredible moves. What they are inherently high risk plays, and I think most new traders find that out the hard way. You can have a really good headline on a potential drug candidate for a company, and you'll see the stock make, sometimes you can see them make 50, 100, 200, 300% moves in a day off of what appears to be some really good news. What's important to recognize, whether it's phase one, phase two, or phase three, and where they are in terms of cash on hand. If they have very little cash but have this great headline, odds are they're going to use that opportunity to dilute shareholders and raise capital. That is what's likely going to happen. So you've got to make sure that you take a look and see if there's any kind of an S3 filing, if they have a shelf out there, meaning that they have stocks sitting on the shelf waiting to pour into the market so that they can raise capital. So make sure you check that out. Before jumping into any biotechs, also check Biopharm Catalyst and see if they have a potential catalyst on the horizon. A lot of times, stocks will run into that catalyst, but then sell off on the actual event. So, a couple of tidbits of information there for you before I get into this list. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stocks to watch for this week. And you know what? Before I go into that, now on the blog, I've got the list of stocks to watch from last week and their performance. Make sure you check out the TRK percentage. That's the tracker percentage that the stock has moved since it was put on the list last week, and had some pretty good movers this week. I do want to talk about one name that was on the list, Activision. It actually was, I think it was up slightly for the week, but this is a long-term hold consideration, I think, and one that you want to keep an eye on. This actually kind of looks like it's got a head and shoulders pattern developing here, which isn't looking all that positive. It's just sitting above the 200-day. Now, gaming stocks got a little bit of a hit off of a postponement from EA Sports on their Battlefield. They're not going to come out with it until November. And ATVI kind of moved in sympathy. And then I just heard that China is looking at putting restrictions on new gaming titles and the amount of time that their youngsters can spend playing games online. So gaming names could continue to be under pressure And I would look at Activision. You know, I view this. Hold I view this sector. I would view Activision on a pullback. If we got some real weakness, I would look at this as an opportunity for a long-term hold starter. I do not have a position in Activision. I do want a position in Activision, and I would love to see some real weakness in the name off of these China concerns, off of the negative press from EA Sports. If this thing got down to the $65, $66, $67 area, I probably would look to start building a position with a long-term hold time frame in mind. If it breaks down below, $60 or $63, I probably would be looking for an ad somewhere in the $57 to $58 area. Building my position over time, I would look at real weakness as an opportunity to buy a good name for a long-term hold. So I wanted to point that one out, and we'll see if we get any, follow through in the weakness, break below the 200-day. You're probably going to flush some people out there. And then the next area of support is somewhere around this $60, $63, $64, somewhere in that area. Could be some price support there. May come down, test that area, build out a base, and then bounce back up. I probably would look to take a position or add to a position there. Like I said, look for a pullback into the $57 area for an ad. All right, so that's that on ATVI. Let me go ahead and hop right into the list here. Oops. Hold on, I'm having technical difficulties with my list. Hold on a second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, so first one we're going to start off with is this AOBC. This has been a very beaten up name, very beaten up sector. It's I believe a gun stock. Nice pop on Friday off earnings and guidance. So broke back above all the moving averages, closed nearly at the high of the day, flirting with the $14 holla. It's got a fairly small float, 47 million shares in the float. I think maybe on this one, what we look for is a red to green move, right? We look for a pullback into the 13.25 area where we've got some potential price support, and then potentially get a bounce off there, see if we get any kind of follow through. This has had some nice 3-day runs in the past. We'll see if maybe it does it again this time. But this time we've broken through a fairly long-term downtrend. And like I said, we've reclaimed all those moving averages. So I think there is potential for a red to green continuation type move in AOBC. INNT. This one had a little bit of a pop with some pretty good volume on Friday. Now, this has got a small float. I think there was a headline out on Friday. I'm not sure what it was. But this got a little bit of a pop after some real tight consolidation, flirting with the 7 roll. Now, this is an area of potential price resistance, and you do have a lot of moving average resistance overhead as well. But it could be a day trading opportunity. Maybe look for a pullback to, say, $6.50 or so. See if that holds as support for a potential bounce. And then what you're looking for is maybe a pop up into this $8, $8.50 area, right around where the 50 EMA is. And I would look to take some off there. This is a biotech name. Like I said, really just looking for a day trading opportunity there. Worth keeping an eye on. See if we get any follow through. There was pretty good volume on Friday. See if we get that follows through as well on Monday. PDEX, Medical Instruments and Supplies. Looks like they announced earnings and got a big pop on Friday off of those earnings, testing $9 holla. Now there is some resistance up overhead at about $9.40. Wait a minute. I had to go back on the monthly, I think, on this one to find that. Yeah. So we got $9.50, $9.40 That is an area of potential price resistance on a very long time frame. On the flip side, you know, if this thing breaks through $10 with conviction, it could get pretty interesting. So, 2.6 million shares in the float, extremely thin, means you got to play this, uh, you know, size appropriate, and definitely don't chase it, right? I mean, it only traded 145,000 shares on Friday, not a tremendous amount of volume, but this could be a day trading opportunity if we have some volume and if you see some kind of a setup. Like I said, you play the size appropriate though. Don't go all in on that one, okay? TPIV, another biotech name, 7.9 million shares in the float. Stochastics have curled up, got a little pop, broke out of this little formation that we had going on the daily here, flirting with the $9 holla, also flirting with the 50-day moving average. Did manage to close just above the 50 SMA. I think this one is worth keeping an eye on for a potential red to green type move. 697 or 676,000 shares traded hands on Friday, so there was some liquidity there. Maybe we look for that to happen and get some follow through next week. Pull back to 820, $8. See if that holds a support for a bounce. Little red to green action. TPIV, keep it on your radar. CRIS, another biotech that had a pop on Friday with some decent volume. 22.3 million shares in the float, testing the 50-day, closed above the 50-day. But this one is also testing a longer term trend line. Look at this trend line here, right? And it is right at that trend line, right at the 50-day, right at the trend line. Maybe you get a red to green, get a $2 test, maybe even get a pop up into this 275, 250 area, 265 area. Worth keeping an eye on CRIS, another small floater with good volume on Friday. A lot of these names, just remember, a lot of risk, right? HSGX, 11.5 million shares in the float, 845,000 shares trading hands on Friday and coming up to a potential 3 roll, which has been a big area of price resistance. So, you know, maybe a red to green here as well. Looking for maybe a pullback to 280, 275, somewhere in that area. See if it holds the support, and then look for a bounce and take out the $3 holla. Now it has had, you know, it's failed several times on a break over 3. May fail again. So this could be a very quick trade in and out, right? But worth having on the radar. Potential flat top breakout there on the daily. CPRX got a little bit of a pop on Friday. Are you seeing a theme here? That's why the IBB is really looking kind of interesting to me. Traded a million shares on Friday. It does have a little bit thicker. It's not super tiny. It's not a super tiny float. You've got 95 million shares in the float. You've got the 200-day at $3.25. I'm thinking maybe you get a red to green, pull back to 315, 316 or so, and then go back and see if maybe we can get a test up into the $3.60 range. Again, you know, potentially a day trading opportunity on CPRX, SESN. Now this one is third day of the move. Up into an area of potential price resistance, but breaking this trend line. Again, this could be a red to green. Now, it is piercing the upper Bollinger Band. This might need time just to consolidate a little bit, build out a pattern, but pretty interesting. There's several stocks with these letters within their symbol, SESN, SNES, and I think I have another one on this list. But they all kind of look interesting. This one, like I said, third day of the move, out of the upper Bollinger Band, might need to consolidate, but worth at least having on your radar. 38.5 million shares in the float there. RARX, another biotech, 15.9 million shares in the float. Uh, Flirting with this $12 holla, right? Maybe you got an inverse head and shoulders pattern here, right? Here's the head, shoulder, shoulder. Now we're testing that neckline and the $12 holla. So you got a lot going on here with this RARX. Looking for a break over 12, or it's already over 12. It's at 1220. Looking for a pullback potentially to about 1150 or so, where we got potential price support, and then get some, move higher, take out 1250. But I like this RARX quite a bit. See if it gets any action. Pretty decent volume on Friday too. 324,000 shares trading hands. Looking for potential follow through red to green on that one. HTGM, a bit extended, piercing the upper Bollinger Band. Did take out the $4 holler, which has been acting as price resistance. Now look for this $4 area to hold as potential support. Now, like I said, this is up a few days in a row. Pretty decent volume, 1.2 million shares traded on Friday. Only 24 million shares in the float. A pullback to $4, or it could be interesting, right? Maybe we build out a little flag pattern, kind of drift lower, test that for a support. Could be an interesting spot for a potential bounce. Worth keeping an eye on. HTGM. INFI, another small cap bio. 42 million shares in the float. Potential flat top breakout on this one. Let's see, over a million shares, April 2018. So there has been some pretty significant 10% buyers, insider buying in this area. Looking for a break over that 230 with conviction. This could be a red to green as well. Pull back to about $2.15. That could be an entry. It's above all its moving averages. You're above the 200-day, above the 50-day. 50-day starting to slope up. Stochastic starting to slope up. I like the look of INFI quite a bit. Worth keeping an eye on that one. BEAT. This thing has been a BEAST. Beast. Lower left, upper right, all-time highs. Little flag pattern here right up at near the top, right just below the $60 holla. You got a break on Friday with good volume. 552,000 shares trading hands. It's only got 28 million shares, and you are in blue skies. It is all-time highs. Look at that. Look at that breakout. Look at the breakout from the previous all-time high. Very impressive move. This is a monthly time frame I'm looking at, but this thing's a beast, and there is no overhead resistance. So worth keeping an eye on this one. I think their earnings have been stellar. Worth keeping an eye on. BEAT. Maybe what we look for now is you look for a pullback to the $60 area. See if that holds as price support for a swing consideration. Maybe even a long-term hold consideration. That momentum, it looks like it's there to stay for a little while. We'll see. AGEN, another biotech. Yep, that is the theme. Big pop up to the 50-day moving average, broke above it, consolidating right here at the 50 EMA and just under some potential price resistance, looking for it to take out that 225 area. And I think potentially you get a test back up into the 200-day right around $3.35. 79 million shares in the float. There is a PUFTA expected on October 24th. I think that is of this year coming up. Had some decent insider buys at much higher prices. I think AGEN is interesting and worth keeping an eye on for a break over that 225. PTN, this is a damn near a penny play, but it is consolidating. You got a cluster of moving averages here. It's consolidating just below the 200-day moving average and the $1 holla. Looking for a break over the $1 holla. Potentially a day trade opportunity in this one. Get a test up into 110, 125, somewhere in that area. Worth keeping an eye on. PTN, SENS. See, this is the other one I was talking about. These flirting with $4 holla. This also is on the fourth or fifth day of its move. It is within the Bollinger Band though. Maybe look for a pullback into the 380, 390 area, maybe even 375. See if that holds a support for a bounce. Just starting to take out this trend line. You know, there is the possibility we could go back up and test that $5 area. Traded 1.7 million shares on Friday. Actually, it's had, you know, several days of some pretty decent volume. It's got 64.7 million shares in the float. I like the look of the daily. See if maybe this gets some follow through. VSTO, really hot looking daily chart. Vista Outdoors. Looks like maybe this had the gap up off of earnings and has been consolidating, pulling back. Let's see, this has got 49 million shares in the float. You've got the 50-day that just crossed over the 200-day. I think this is more of a swing or long-term hold consideration. Maybe look for a pullback to around $18.25, $18 as potential support for an entry for a swing or long-term hold. You know, if it pulled all the way back to $17, I think that would be a really attractive entry there. But definitely more of a swing or long-term hold consideration. Great looking setup on the daily time frame. Toka, Adam Feuchtstein has actually had some positive, did you hear what I just said? Positive things to say about Toka. Kind of strange. This thing got a little bit of a pop on Friday. You know, they had news the other I think about a week or so ago. Adam Feuchtstein made a positive comment about it. $30 price target by Chardon. The only thing I don't know is whether Chardon is a quality firm to or not. I'm not very familiar with Chardon at all, but pretty interesting action in this one. Worth seeing if this gets some follow through. Maybe get a test up into the 1050 area, to, you know, the 200-day moving average, and then if it can take that out, maybe get up into the $12 area. So really small float, 18.4 million shares, only traded 314,000 shares on Friday, but worth at least having on the radar. That one could be interesting after an offering, after they do an offering, and see where it gets priced. But CYTK coming up and testing, another biotech coming up and testing the 50-day moving average, testing this trend line, and testing the $8 holla. Maybe looking for a break over that trend line with some conviction. I'm thinking potentially get up into the 940, 950 area. Could be a day trading opportunity. Let's see, BDSI, another one. Actually, it was pointed out by one of the pro members in the room on Friday. Got a very good look to it. I've traded BDSI in the past, done well with it. It's been consolidating for a while here around $3. It's in the right space. 51.7 million shares in the float. You know, maybe a pullback into the 260 area, 265 high risk swing. On a break over 305 with volume could be a nice scalp or day trading opportunity. Pretty good look on BDSI. NEOS. This is flirting with the $6 holla. Maybe we getting a little bit of a double bottom here just over the $5 holla. Looking for it to take out the 50-day. 28.4 million shares in the float. Traded 243,000 shares on Friday. But does have kind of an interesting look. Cowan, I think, put a $20 price target on it. I've had insider buys in several different ranges. That was back in 2017, but paid much higher prices than where it currently sits. I think it's worth keeping an eye on this one. NEOS for a trend line break with authority. GIII. I said, you know, retail was interesting to me. This GIII is looking pretty interesting. Nice formation, came down, filled this gap. I believe that was probably off of earnings. Probably shook some people out pretty good right here with this candle. Seems to be holding as support. Looking for this to break over this trend line with some conviction. Only 39 million shares in the float. Pretty good looking setup there on the daily. RIBT has been on my watch list for several weeks in a row. We keep seeing consistent insider buying in this name and 10% ownership buying in this name. It's consolidating nicely. I think on a pullback to $3, this is worth taking a stab for a swing or long-term hold consideration. It's only got 13.6 million shares in the float, so it's a higher risk stock. You know that going in. You play size appropriate, but if it breaks over, 329 or so with volume, takes out this trend line, could be an interesting day trade or scalp opportunity as well. So worth keeping an eye on that. My penny stock play of the day, WYY. I have traded in and out of WYY many, many times. They have a new management team there. There has been some decent insider buying there. And I want to point this out to you real quick. Go to openinsider.com. And you'll see the CEO, the CFO, been purchasing shares, 47 cents. Not, huge amounts of shares, but purchasing nonetheless, right? So all of 2018, we've been seeing some decent insider buying going on for anywhere from 54 cents, 56 cents, 55 cents. They're building their position. And they just announced a contract that they've been trying to get forever from the Coast Guard last week. I think the new management team is doing a bang-up job, much better than the old management team. And I think this one is worth maybe taking a little, lotto play in. Full disclosure, I do have a little starter in this area. And I may be looking to add to that this week. So WYY, worth keeping an eye on. Take out the 200-day with some conviction. I think we get a test maybe back up into the 75 cent area. $75. 75 cent area. And eventually, I think this thing goes for the $1 holla. So, worth keeping an eye on WYY. MEET. Missed this. This actually had a perfect pullback. I was watching it. I was looking to get into this thing at about $3.95 for a swing. They reported good earnings. It actually pulled back. It gave me the opportunity. I didn't pull the trigger. And it popped up to over $5. Now I am watching this thing again for a pullback into the 475, 450 area. See if it gives me an opportunity to jump back in. I'd love to get it at $3.95, $4 range. May not happen, but this could just consolidate here just above the $5 holla. Either way, I am looking at jumping back into MEET for a swing. SGYP, full disclosure, I own it. And I own a pretty good chunk of it. I actually have it in 3 accounts. And I've got dollar cost average on one account at about $2.18, and another one, I've bought some shares at a $1.59 or so. So I've got it in several different places. This is in my long-term hold account as well. It is consolidating and flagging. It's in the biotech space. Now, here's the thing. They have cash concerns, but they are in the midst of potentially working out, a U.S. partnership and maybe a European partnership. It's been acting differently recently. And what I mean by that is it's consolidating over the 200-day moving average, which it hasn't been over in a very long time. Okay, so it took the 200-day. It's been consolidating, and there was some news actually after the close on Friday that they are, extending out this loan that they have. They're not taking a draw from it, and that is an indication to me that these guys are probably pretty hot and heavy into negotiations of a potential partnership, maybe even an outright sale. Now, look, could it all fall through? Absolutely. The difference between this biotech and some of the other biotechs is they have an approved drug for two indications. Okay, it's approved. They had some poor management decisions that has really hurt the stock. Institutional investors, I think, got pissed off at management. There's a new CEO there. He was part of that management team, though, but I have to say, he's been executing on what he said he was going to do. So we'll have to see. But I think this one is acting very interesting. It's consolidating. It's holding this 200-day. I'm looking for it to take out 210 with some real conviction. I could add to my position for day trade scalp. If this thing really starts to go, I think potentially you can get a test up into the 275 area. My long-term hold price target on this one is around $6. That's what I'm looking for, $6. All right, NIHD, a great looking setup, consolidating, flirting with, right underneath the $6 holla. I'm not in it, but I am looking at it for a potential swing. I would really like to get it as close to 5 or maybe even 475, 490, somewhere in that area for a starter for a swing. But I like the way the daily is setting up. AVP, yes, AVP, Avon Products. Significant amount of insider buying. CEO bought 250,000 shares at $1.98. New CEO, $1.93. Look, it pulls back to 185, 180, somewhere in that area. I think I'm going to throw in with the CEO. It's a big, thick stock, 387 million shares in the float. So I'm, looking at this as kind of a long-term hold lottery play, right? Director bought 600,000 shares at $1.80. New CEO, read through their earnings transcript. I think, has the right plan in place, and they just need to execute. Pulls back to 160. I would look to add to that position. So maybe take a starter, 2,000, 3,000 shares. Look to add on a pullback. If it got all the way back down to 135, 140 or whatever, maybe I look to double up on that. I'm looking at this as a turnaround play, long-term hold. That's where I'm at with AVP, but kind of has an interesting look to me. And then I'm going to end this with INSY, which had a big pop off of fast track designation for their epinephrine that you could inhale instead of having to inject it into your body. I think that has potential promise, but I think it's a ways away. This company has had some legal issues, new management team, big pop, pulled back. It's also a cannabis play. Cannabis was hot, now it's not. Citron came out and kind of rained on that party, but it could still remain volatile, and maybe we see some nice day trading opportunities within that space, the cannabis space, and INSY is worth having on your radar. Pull back to $8. See if that holds the support for a bounce. Could be an interesting day trading opportunity. All right, that's it. That is my list of stocks to watch for the week. Like I said, biotechs inherently risky plays, but you play them size appropriate, right? You don't chase them, and you make sure you have a plan in place. Know your risk reward. All right, that's it. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your holiday weekend, and I will see you all next week. Good luck trading next